Hi guys, and welcome to Per Character Animation Presets. These are very interesting presets. Not all of them, some of them. This section is about mainly showing you how to work with the presets and also showing you the most interesting, at least what I think. Now it's up to you to come and really explore more. I hope that you have downloaded your resources from the previous lecture, and I would like you to come to File and go to Open Project. And here, if you are using CC 2018, you can open 2D text animation preset start. If you're not using CC 2018, you know very well by now, you can use the CC 2013 copy, which is okay. I'll go back and open the 2018 one. If you come to the effects on preset here, you have animation presets. If you scroll it down, you will notice you have text. And if you scroll down text, under text, you have so many groups, much more than any other animation preset. Now, we will not go through all of them because there are like, 1,000. I invite you to come and explore and see exactly how it happens. Let's start with the blurs. So I made a special composition here, the blur presets. Double click to open it. It has 6 layers here. If you come to the blurs also in the text, you will find there are 6 of them. I want to show you the 6 of them. They are very interesting. Now, how do you work here? All these texts are the same, animation preset. You could either put off the visibility on all the others and work with one at a time, for example, the second one, or simply you can leave the visibility on and solo the layer. When you solo the layer, this is the only layer that you can see in your composition. It saves a lot of manipulation within the course. Let's start with blur by word. Before you click and drag, make sure that you have your time indicator in the beginning of the composition, because this preset might have keyframes. And if you are around here, the keyframes will be outside the comp, then you have to undo. Let's go back to the beginning, click on blur by word and drop it. We deselect and play. So you're looking at it, what's doing. You could really use another font, but actually it's not bad. This is a start. So what do you do next? You scroll down and start looking at whatever you used. First of all, you have in blur by word animator, if you look at it here, you have some keyframes for the offset. Pretty interesting at 2 seconds. Now, the first thing I will do is to take it to 1 second. Here you are. So you play now much better, much faster at least. You look at what they have used here. There is a scale property and the opacity and the blur. Now, the first thing you will notice here, guys, that the scale is not really working. Notice, guys, it's at 100%. Well, obviously, they want you to put it at 200 or 300 or 150%. Let's see now the animation. It became totally different. Not bad. It's getting better, guys, right? The opacity and the blur, I don't think we can play with them except increasing or decreasing the values for the blur, horizontal and vertical. But also, you can come over, select the blur by word and go to the add over here and add another property, for example, the position. And let's come in the middle a bit so we can see and take the position, for example, up. Here you are. Let's see what's happening now. It's moving in. That's not bad. So actually, this is how you work. You choose this preset, apply it, and see how you can change it. Let's take the bullet train, okay? We have the bullet train over here. Click and drag and drop it. Immediately, I press U to see the keyframes. In fact, they are only at less than a second. Notice what's happening. Well, somebody decided this is the bullet for the train. Okay, it might be very nice. Actually, it is very nice. You can come and, work on whatever they did here. Add more or remove. Work with the offset. I don't know, the timing. Whatever you like, guys. But this is a preset, in my opinion, you can already use. Now, you have the evaporate, which I find it very interesting. I will solo evaporate, remove the bullet train, take evaporate and drop it there. Let's see now what's happening. Notice that the evaporate is not a text in, it's a text out. And I put it on the blurs. So actually, I would have put it under the animate out, for example. Here you are, you have it, and it's very nice. Let's open and see what's inside. If you scroll down, animator, you have scale, 263 and opacity and so on. The first thing I will do is to increase the scale, see exactly how it's working. Not bad, it's even faster and so on. If you don't like the 2 seconds and a half, of course you can make it shorter. This is one is done, and I invite you also to come and play with it. Let's see the foggy. Now also you want to understand how these guys were thinking. Okay, so I take it, I drop it on foggy itself, and not bad. It's a bit amusing, okay, but still, if you work on it a bit, you can find out like, okay, how do I play with the scale over here on one coordinates only, the X, and they're scaling it in. Not bad. So it's up to you now to come and say, okay, maybe I'll hack the scale and see what happens. Well, as I say, if you're doing cartoons, this will be very fun. If you're doing for business, surely don't use it, guys. Let's move on and play more. We take the jiggy, and I don't know what the jiggy will do. I forgot, by the way. So this is quite interesting. Lots of people ask me to create this animation for them. They call it the glitch or stories like this. Well, you have it. It's done. It's glitching all over the place. Let's see. If you press U, you notice you don't have keyframes. It has only a wiggle, okay, for the expression blur. Pretty interesting. Now you would want to explore a bit more about the animator itself. They're not using any keyframes, as you notice, only the wiggle. That's it, actually, and you notice how easy it is. Now you can add a few things here and make it even more glitchy if you like to. Okay, I'll put it off, solo it, and go to the transporter and drop it on the transporter. Now that one, I have to admit, is pretty nice, guys. And we try to do something like this. Let's look at it from inside. Here in the transporter animator, notice how they also renamed the animator. Something important in the range selector. In the advanced, over here, you will notice that the randomize order is on. This is off. Notice how it's coming up, one after the other. But when you put the randomize order on, here you are, now it randomizes. Then you can change the seed if you don't like this one, for example, until you get exactly what you want. Of course, you can play with the scale over here. Notice they put it at 3013, and you can play with the blurs effect here, 275 by 25. You notice the spirit here. So this is big, this is small, this is big, the blur. It's pretty interesting how it's done. So actually it gives you a lot of ideas on how you want to create your presets later on and even save them. So guys, I think I showed you a lot about the blur presets for text, and I hope this was very useful for you. The text bounce preset is something I need to show you before you complete this course. It's very important that you get to know it and start, working on it. You see this kind of animation all over the places. People play with it and try to make it as smooth as possible. This preset is under expressions, and you have a text bounce. I'll click, drag, and drop it on the layer itself. You notice that the layer jumped up because surely in the animator here we have a position. This is the position at -320. Doesn't matter. Leave it there and click on the rectangle and just draw a mask. Here you are. Let's play the animation and you see it's very interesting. Let's go to the mask and feather it a bit. Just a bit. Okay? So now it's very interesting. What's nice about this animation? First, you have the animator and you have the expression selector here, and you notice it's run by a JavaScript over here. Pretty heavy one and pretty interesting. And I don't think I'm about to start writing this kind of JavaScript within After Effects, but I can use this preset without even touching the Java. Furthermore, if you notice in Effect Controls, you have 4 sliders that you can use to control the animation. And that's what makes it quite interesting. You have the bounce frequency, and you have bounce per character delay, and the bounce decay and the start. Let's start playing with them. Let's put it over here to see some of them. Well, the best way to explore how it works is to give it, abnormal figures or very low, very high. Here you are. I put it to 1, and I play. Notice now it's really pretty slow. Okay, this is the frequency. So the frequency is very small, and actually after 5 seconds it didn't settle yet. 1 is not the right one to use. Let's say 10. Okay, notice how I'm exploring. So I press spacebar. Wow, now it became pretty speedy and actually is settled around 1 second or more, just over here. 10 is a good result. Let's put it at 5 to make it very speedy. And I like it, but it's bouncing all over the place. It's too much bouncing. Let's say bounce per character delay. What is it about? Let's put it, for example, at 1. Okay. And let's play to see what happens. So you notice the delay is like delaying the characters to settle. Notice how long it's taking to settle, just over here. Too much. How about instead of 0.25, we make it 0.1. And let's play. Starting to look good, and the bouncing is not too much. Fine, let's go to the bounce decay. Instead of 50, let's make it 25 and see what happens. Okay, here you are. If I press spacebar, well, this is something you can use and something that is pretty interesting now. You've seen these animations, I'm sure. People show off and start writing JavaScript. Actually, you have found it inside the preset. So now you can look like a JavaScripter and you did this animation in After Effects. Don't tell anybody that you use text bounce. Okay, guys? The slider here is a bit interesting. I will delete the mask to show you what the slider does. And you actually can move, but it will affect, if you notice, let's move it down. If you notice, it will affect the animation. It's not going very far, just bouncing just a bit. You can make it smaller if you like. Okay, I'm trying to take it down. 47, notice how it has bounced. Okay, just like this. So actually, this is about the text bounce. It's very interesting and very important, and I really didn't want you to miss this one. So come over. So go to After Effects. I hope you are following along with me. You open the file and use text bounce and adjust it. Use the mask. And of course, if you find an animation with a good context, this will be a very nice preset to use. I want to bring to your attention the text preset under path. They are very interesting. Some of them are totally useless. Some of them are very nice, but you need to work on them. And some of them will work directly, depending exactly on what you want to do. I'm going to show you here about the 360 loop. First of all, I put the time indicator in the beginning of the comp. Click on the preset itself and drop it on my text. Notice how my text is going to change. It changed to 360 loop. Let's return the text. I will double click on it and write, for example, aeschoolonline.com. The text is pretty big, so I will go to the character panel, which is here, and just make it smaller. Here you are, visually. Let's look at the preset itself. First, if you drill down, there is the path option, and a mask has been created. We already seen this, and the mask is called loop path. You can see it over here. And they have used the last margin. Well, this one doesn't use per character animation. It's just using the last margin. But still, it's very interesting. We are in the preset. If you play it, you will notice that the text will come in and bounce a bit and comes out. But that's not exactly what you want. You want to edit the mask. So I will double click on the mask and just move it and put it, for example, in the center. Press enter to commit, and then click on the mask itself or click on the layer. Take this point, okay, and make it outside. Take it to the outside. And this point over here, just put it over here so it can bounce. If I play the animation now, still not working. The end is nice, but the beginning comes from over here. Since we see the keyframes, and that's the most important, you can come over to the last margin and just adjust it the way you would like. For example, I'll take it to outside the composition. Here you are. If I play, very nice animation. It's a preset that you can use immediately, save on yourself some time. It's pretty cool, by the way. There are some other keyframes here, if you notice. This is the animator tracking. Look what's happening. When it comes over here, you start getting the tracker smaller, they compress, then stretch the tracking. Pretty nice. If you'd like, you can come and change the keyframes over here from the selector. This is the offset. Maybe change the value of the tracking, for example, to -10. Okay, let's notice what's happening here. Notice how they are compressing even more and coming out. So it's up to you to come and play with it, see exactly what you want here, change the font and so on. I want to show you about the multi-line presets. Please open the composition multi-line, and you have here 2 text layers and some image to make it beautiful so we can, work nicely. Now, this text is a paragraph text. If you go to your text tool and click inside, you will notice I made it as a paragraph. You can come and adjust it the way you would like. For example, make it bigger, the same way you play with a paragraph text. Let's make it like this for now and open it. The preset I want to show you is called Word Processor. If you come to Effects and Preset, inside text, of course, you have the multi-line group, and there are so many that you can use and play around with. So I will select Word Processor and drop it on the layer itself. Let's immediately start playing and see exactly what it does. If you play, you notice it's typing one character at a time, and it's showing a kind of cursor. Now, I took this long example or long text on purpose to show you what to do when it doesn't display all your text. Well, it's pretty easy. Let's go to the last keyframe. I press U to show the keyframes. Press J to go to the last keyframe over here. And you can now increase the slider. So what this effect does is it looks at the text itself. It calculates the number of characters and then start playing them, one by one with the cursor in front. So all you have to do is to increase the slider. Here you are. That's cool. So if you play now, you have it. All right, it's showing you all the text. It's a pretty nice way to display text. It has been on TV. I've seen it. I don't know which big channel, and they're telling a story. It's pretty interesting when you want your viewers to read about the image or the video and, show it like you're typing in. Now, if you come to the preset itself, I have to admit it's a complicated one. First, it has a couple of effects, and this is what you're animating. These effects are sliders. There are 2 sliders, in fact. And there is the cursor blink. So there is type on, cursor blink, and only the type on is keyframed, as you can see. And then inside the text, you have now 3 animators. You have the first one that is the character value, just positioning the cursor just after the last character that appears. Then you have the one that blinks the cursor, and then you have the opacity reveal for the characters. You can come and play with it. It's all about expressions. You can look at it. But nevertheless, you can just use it the way it is. It's pretty nice. You can adjust your text. Let's move on to the next preset. Turn this one up, put it off, and put the stack right left on. The stack right left is just over here. You click on it and drag it and drop it on your text. Now the text is on the side of your composition. If you press U, here you are, you can see 2 keyframes. If you scrub through first, you will notice how the text is coming from the borders or the side of the comp to the middle. Pretty nice animation if you want to use it, of course. Now, depending on the size of your composition, you will need to adjust the position of the text. Let's see how we can do that. I will twirl up, then down, and then come to the selector here. If you notice, you have a position. So inside the Animator X position, you have an expression selector, even odd, and you have the selector offset by line. Now, to adjust your text to be outside the composition, all you have to do is to increase the value of the position just over here, for example. Now, if you play, here you are, pretty nice, pretty cool if you want to use it. Here you are, guys. These are the 2 multi-line that I suggest that you look at, and the rest could be quite interesting for you. Come and play with them, see exactly how you can use them easily and simply as a preset. In this lecture, guys, I want to show you a bit about the text in preset. If you come to the text presets here, you see Animate In and Animate Out. Well, the Animate In presets, as the name says, is supposed to show your text, and the Animate Out is supposed to remove it. There are interesting ones in Animate In that I would like to bring to your attention. Let's take the fade up characters. If you come to fade up or fade up per character, click and drag and drop it on the layer. And let's select the layer, press U. We can see the keyframes is 2 seconds. If you just scrub through, you will notice it's fading up the characters pretty nicely and pretty easy. Now this fade up is taking care of the spacing. If you notice here, okay, you can remove that, you know how. And actually, this is a preset that you can use immediately. You can make it faster or slower the way you would like. Of course, remember guys, if you come to the selector itself or the animator, you can add now some other properties such as the position or the blur if you like to, and it can be a variance of the original preset. Remember that you can save your preset later on. Let's look at fill up per words. I'll put off and put on here. I will go to the beginning of the composition, take fill up per word and drop it on the text layer. If you play now, it's fading up or showing your text layer per word. You have the keyframes. You can make it faster or slower the way you would like. Same story. If you come over to inside now, you have the animator range selector, and you notice it's just playing on the start. Nothing magical here. It's very easy, but I would say you can save a lot of time. You drop it first and then you start adding some other properties, whatever you like. Let's go now slow fade on. Slow fade on is quite interesting. I'll go down to slow fade on. Here it is. Click and drag and drop it on the layer. Now if you play, you notice it's fading in twice. Notice how it's gonna happen. First time, second time. It's like slow and you're attracting the attention just bit by bit. Now if you like this kind of effect, it's very cool. You can press U and notice it's at 2 seconds. You can make it faster, or we'll go to make it slower, for example. Okay, play. And it's cool. You're showing your text slowly. These are some nice fade presets that you can use immediately. Let's go to wipe in to center. If I come to wipe in to center, is the last one. Click and drag and drop it on the layer itself. And let's press U for the keyframes. We close the above one. Notice here it's playing on the start and end. If I press spacebar, it's bringing your text from both sides. Also, you can just use it, and it's very interesting for titles. Okay, then of course you can add the properties that you want. So these are the text preset for Animate In that I'm showing you. Please, of course, come and explore the rest if you like them, how to use them, how to add on them. Create something original for yourself. Just to remind you that these presets are very much used. If you want to have something special, you can start with a preset and continue by adding other properties and animating differently. In this lecture, guys, we are going to look at the Animate Out preset and try to combine the Animate In and Animate Out presets. So let's start. Within Animate Out, I want to show you the fade out per character. It's very easy, in fact, and it's pretty nice, by the way. I'll click and drop it on the layer. Let's play it, and you notice the characters are coming out. So Animate Out, as the name says, is about removing your text from the view. Okay, it's very easy. If you press on New, you will have 2 keyframes, and inside the animator over here, you have just the start that's played on with the keyframes, and it's just about opacity. Of course, you can add other properties if you like. So this is about fade out per character. Let's take the fade out slow. It has its counterpart in the Animate In. Click and drag and drop it on the layer. Here you are. And then if you play here, just removing them twice, if you notice. Now this one will be much nicer if you make it slow. So I'll take the keyframe to 4 seconds. This is the offset that they are animating. Here you are, 1, and then it goes away. Pretty cool, guys. So now that we know about the Animate In and Animate Out, let's try to create a full in and out animation. So you bring the text in and out. I will take the fade out, come down to the animator and delete the animator. Go back to Animate In. Now I want to use, for example, here the fade out slow. Not necessarily, you can use anything you want. So I will come over here and use the slow fade on. So I click on it and drag it. So we are in the beginning of the composition. It's at 2 seconds. It fades up the characters. You can see them very nicely. Press U for the keyframes, make them shorter because here we have only 5 seconds. Leave the characters for 2 seconds on. And then after that, I will come to fade out slow, and just drop it again. Notice I have two new keyframes. I will come to the keyframes now. I press U again, and then bring this one, for example, to over here. Okay, that will be cool for our demonstration. Now let's play it. So your characters will fade in slow and then fade out slow. Pretty nice. So you created very easily an in and out transition using the presets. I recommend this kind of work. You will want to, save time when something is not that important. You don't need to have a fancy animation. Just displaying your text for a YouTube or Facebook or even for professional videos. These methods are very interesting, and of course, you can grow them, add more properties, do whatever you like. In this lecture, you are going to create this animation using the preset. Well, it's about using the presets wisely and nicely so you can tell a story. In this animation here, or this composition, for every image, you have 4 of them. If you notice, you have a certain text. And if you don't create an animate in, the viewer will be only looking at the image and missing that you have changed the text. Let me show you in the start here. You will notice that it just jumps. And like if I'm looking at the image, I will not be able to notice that the text has changed. And by the time I'm over here, oh, the text has changed, but I didn't notice, so I missed the whole video. So you want to create an animate in, and you want to create a seriously nice one. Okay, something simple, neat, that the viewer can, see or read and so on. Your aim here is to apply a preset. Maybe you have guessed which preset I applied. Also, you can be more creative and apply different kind of presets. The only thing you won't do is to apply different presets for every text. That will be pretty annoying. You have something happening here, in the next one there is something else. Then the viewer will have to follow along with your animation, and okay, it's disturbing from one to the other because they are in the same position. Now also, what you can do is to put this text here, the second text with the same animation can come on top, for example. The third one can come on bottom, but don't make it too complicated. Easy, simple, and nice. In this practice activity, you want to tell a story. For every image, you want to display a certain text, and you want it to look somehow nice, to attract the attention of the viewer so he can read the text and look at the image. Of course, reading the text will take more time than perceiving the content of the image. So this is our animation, and we want to create it. So let's see how we are going to do it. Please now open with me the practice activity start. I will work on practice activity final. At the end of this lecture, you will have the final that you can look at. But you start with the practice activity start. So let's see what we have here. We have 4 images, and for every image we have a text. Notice this is the text for this image, and so on for the 4 images. Pretty easy. But now you want to create something that is interesting, The first thing you want to decide is which is the preset you want to use. Of course, it's going to be a kind of animate in. It can be a combination of presets plus something you have added. What is very important is don't use an animation for this layer, another animation for this layer, another animation for this layer, try to be fancy. The viewer will get really annoyed. He has to follow about, okay, what's happening now here on the second one? No, start with the first one and use the same presets or the same animation for all the text. Only the image is changing and you're attracting attention to the text. There's some concept of animation, and if you like also of documentaries, you do something that is really valuable. The preset I want to use here is the word processor, just because I like it, but feel free to use any other animate in. Let's start. Let's go find the text here, and we are going to go to multi-line. That's the one I like. We have done the word processor. I'll make sure the time indicator is at the beginning of the layer. At the end point, you press I, then drop the word processor here. If I open the keyframes, we can see them. Notice if you play, it's not bad. It's okay. Somehow it's rendering now. And it's going to stop somewhere because these keyframes are not very correct. You need to go to the last keyframe and increase the slider. I will increase it until all the character appear. Then I press Ctrl and take it down so I don't have any wastage. Okay, it really doesn't matter, but that's nicer. So you play, not bad. It's showing, it's attracting attention. If you think it's too fast, no problem. Just take the keyframe a bit inside to 4 seconds and decide exactly how it's gonna work. If you still think it's very speedy, then you have to increase the timing for the images themselves and then increase the timing in between the keyframes. Let's go to the in point of the next layer here. I will take word processor and drop it in. I press U for the keyframes and take it to 9 seconds, something like this. It plays, I verify. Of course, if you press K, it doesn't work, You have to increase the slider. I will do that. Here you are, something like this. Let's go to the next one. Press I. Take the word processor, drop it. Press U. Okay, you notice how it became like systematic. Play it. Or let's jump directly to the next keyframe and then increase the slider just to put it over here. Notice I need the text here. There is a mistake. I can still edit it. Okay, let's go to the next layer. We go to Effects and Preset. Take the word processor and drop it. Press U for the keyframes and put it at 19. Let's start playing now and see exactly what's happening. Here you are. It's rendering now, but it's going to be fast. And then you jump to the next image and the text changes again. Of course, guys, don't use InOut here because the viewer will be following with his eyes, okay, what's happening here. So InOut here for the text will be very disturbing. Here you are, guys. You created your first Tell Your Story. I think we made a mistake over here, right, guys? Okay, yeah, we need to increase this guy. Okay, that's cool, something like this, fine. So here you are, guys. You created your first Tell Me the Story on images. Of course, you can do the same on videos. Thank you very much for listening. I hope this was very useful for you. And I hope you will use it in your animations and telling a nice story. Thanks. I'll see you in the next lecture.